is just a smokescreen of hope. You acting like we got control over who gets chosen. I think it's a joke. The president's on dope, different coat. He's just a puppet of Patsy, taking orders from a cult of the mask. He was dancing with the devil, so we can't ever trust. You got us by the balls, power, blood, money, and lust. Just take control of yourself. You know that change is a must. The initials of the U.S. is us. Before you join the military, see what the war's about. We got a lot of dirt to clean in our house.
Committed treason. It's the reason we stand and we fight through the darkness and the light. The government lied.
Soldiers died in the fire of war. They got burnt. They had to learn the hard way. The freedom isn't free, so they paid the
price with their life. And now you miss them. Some are still missing. This ain't the Christian coalition. I'm a child of the earth that study this knowledge without a need of a church. Of course I thank the Lord, but no thank you for the war. All of what we fighting for. It's the rich against the poor. Missiles flying overhead. Bodies coming home dead.
A secret dream was planned before Columbus came. They knew about this land for the post-war plan of the manner to cross borders is first make chaos, then bring order. They claim to help and instead create the problem and pose as the heroes placed there to solve them. Eventually, it will be a one-world democracy. It'll be placed with a two-faced hypocrisy. Another crime committed against the common good, and when it's said and done, we're still misunderstood. It's not a question of who.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. Oh my.
We did? The South?
Like the one in 1965 or what Civil War?
Who won it? Who was even in it?
Who was in it? Just tell me who was in it. Ooh, I don't know.
Why you let me do this? Who won the Civil War?
Yeah. Oh my god. Hey, I'm trying to blank some of those things.
I feel like I'm on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. America? I don't know.
That's the Confederates, right? I have no clue.
The Union. The North. Yes. Okay. Okay, who did we gain our independence from?
These are horrible.
I have no idea. Do you know what year we happened to? Absolutely not.
I couldn't tell you.
It's like 1677 or something.
What show is Snooki on?
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Jersey Shore.
Who is Brad Pitt married to?
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie. Angelina Jolie.
And who was he married to before that?
I think it was Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mark Berline, a secular guy, wrote a book called The Dumbest Generation. The most unready generation ever. Not just unready for anything, but for battle. Literally, we are not equipped. And when he was studying military readiness, never, possibly ever in all of world history has there been a generation more unready for battle than ours. Isn't that an extraordinary statement? Just think about these things spiritually, because this is a secular guy that's doing an analysis on a culture. But I want you to realize that physical readiness for physical battle applies to spiritual readiness for spiritual battle. 75% of an entire generation between 18 and 24 are ineligible to join the military. 75%. Can you say the word pathetic with me? Why? Well, there's a high level of obesity. This is embarrassing. Obesity. Unfit physically, unable to perform the most basic military maneuvers. Uneducated. Oh, wait a minute. Are you going to say we're uneducated? You can go to school and be uneducated. Isn't that an incredible realization? That you can go through school and they can pass you because they don't want you just lingering in the grade. And they'll keep moving you through the system and they'll stick out practically illiterate students all the time. They can find oatmeal in the grocery store because they recognize the oatmeal box, not because they can read oatmeal. unlearned mentally, unable to pass the most basic academic tests of competence. We can't hear. You have to be able to hear, I guess, to get into the military at some level. Lost acute hearing ability due to the volume of music. It's embarrassing. We are unfit to protect our lives, to protect our marriages, to protect our families, to protect our towns, protect our states, to protect our nations. We are unready for battle. So the dumbest generation ever. This is the book that I was referring to. It's actually called The Dumbest Generation, or this is the other option title for it, or Don't Trust Anyone Over 30. That's an attitude of an entire generation. You can't trust these guys. Those over 30, we have definitely seen some weaknesses in the older generation. There's no doubt about it. But I want you to know, those over 30 possibly know more than you do, as those of you that are under 30. You may know more about computer programming. However, they oftentimes know more about life. And we have disconnected ourselves from any knowledge fuel source that would give us an understanding of how life actually works. So look at this. It goes through, I think it's like 6 things I'll mention here, but 6 observations of why we are the dumbest generation ever. How do you guys like being classified as that? Isn't that a fun title to wear? See, I'm trying to get you mad, is what I'm trying to do. Don't accept that title. Don't sit around and allow that to be your title. Hit it back. Knowledge deficits. The least supply of common life, social, and cultural knowledge of any generation. This is my little statement that I add to it. Disconnect them from their devices and they die. See, as long as they have their computer, their laptop, their PDA, whatever it is, they can make it through life. They can figure out directions. They can do their research. How do they do their research? Google. That's their research. And so as a result, you disconnect them from their devices, stick them in a forest all by themselves and run away with the car. They die. They have no way of surviving. They do not know how to live outside of the system. They're bibliophobes, which isn't just a fear of the Bible. This is a fear of books. The highest disregard of books and reading of any generation. Now look, there's my comment. Give them a book and they turn it into kindling. Number 3, screen time. It's the greatest amount of time in front of a screen of any generation. I mean, you could say, well, previous generations didn't even have screens. I don't know what it was, the 40s or 50s when television started coming out, and they were watching television all the time because it was such a novelty. Doesn't even compare to what we are doing in this generation. We are almost always in front of a screen, whether it's a computer screen or a television screen or a movie screen. Almost always, or a cell phone screen. Whatever it is, we are addicted to the screen. And obviously, this is having some kind of effect upon us. Don't expect them to be involved in the rescue of this world, for they are completely lost in another one. Online learning skills, the least effective research skills which garner true information of any generation. Our generation does not know how to find true information. We know how to find information. We have the information superhighway. Oh yeah, we know how to find information. Is it true? Are you able to test and see if it's true? Do you have any filter of knowing if it's true? Well, it's the highest Google ranking. Let me tell you, the highest Google ranking is nearly inevitably wrong. Okay? It does not necessarily mean it is right. It just means more people are turning to it than something else. There are all sorts of top Google rankings in this world, but that does not mean that they are true. The motto for information gathering, the highest Google ranking rules. Wikipedia is the new Bible, and good bloggers are the oracles of the now. If you can write, this generation will submit to you, lay down their lives before you and say, train my mind how to think. It does not mean that you know how to live. It does not mean you have a scrap of actual real-world intelligence. You have not earned a medal through your life lived, and yet you can write, and you can impress people with your phraseology, and as a result, this generation will submit to you, and they will follow your lead. You could be 17 years old and not know a thing, but you can write. You can control the minds of a generation. Betrayal of mentors is another hallmark of this generation, of these 18 to 24-year-olds. They're the most apt to disbelieve, disregard, or betray teachers and mentors of any generation. Their commitments mean nothing, for they are loyal only to that which feels good to them in the moment. This better not describe you, by the way. If it does, you need to discard these behaviors, because there is a loyalty that is needed of you. I know it's hard to be loyal to people that don't necessarily seem like they're living it either, but there are deep loyalties that need to be bred in your soul. And I'm not just saying to parents and leaders and church leaders and things like that. But if you grow up with this mentality, guess what? You'll be flaky with God. You'll be flaky with His Word. Because what feels good to you in the moment, I guarantee you a good, hot gospel message may not feel good to your soul in the moment. Do you discard it? Are you going to betray your mentor, the Word of God? This behavior is despicable. No more warriors. The generation least apt to produce warriors for cultural, moral, civic, and private good. The motto for exertion of soul: supply strength and passion only to the causes that best serve self's comfort and self's continued gratification. What gets you up off the couch? Self. How's it going to help me? Is there anything in it for me? All right, I'll give a little energy to it. The moment that starts to turn and it starts to be for the benefit of someone else, hey, I'm done. I did my part. I'm sitting back down on the couch. What kind of warriors are those? A warrior is one who knows the value of a cause bigger than himself. That's what a warrior is. You don't just go out and fight for your own reputation. We as Christians fight for the glory of Jesus Christ, something far bigger than self. In fact, to fight for it, you have to deny self. If you're fashioned after this model, Christianity is in the tank, because everything that makes Christianity strong is being defied with this behavior. We can't accept it. So remember the title. I'm not trying to just discourage you. I'm saying the most unlikely heroes. So there's a positive spin on this. I do not accept this as the final declaration over the 18 to 24-year-old age range. And you shouldn't either if you just happen to be in that age range. You guys remember how I started? The most unlikely heroes. Remember I was making you feel bad? You're part of the dumbest generation ever? Now that's the secular take on us. I would like us to turn that on its face. I would like us to rise up and say, God, my background may be faulty. It may not be, have all the holes filled in. Something may not be complete in my education, sure. Yes, and I've been scared of books my entire life, and as a result, I am quite scared of the Bible. I will admit it. And yes, I've spent most of my life in front of a screen. Yes, there's problems here. I've not shown loyalty, even unto my parents, let alone unto your word, unto your leadership in my life. That needs to change now. Take this wreck and shape it into a picture of your glory. Jesus Christ was born in a stable. And He did that on purpose, as a testimony to all of us that He would take stables that stink and He would cause them to be His birthplace. And as a result, He would transform them into His castles of glory. Yes, you may be feeble. Yes, you may be weak. You may be like Gideon, the least in his father's house, the least of the tribes. God should ignore us. Absolutely. That's a given. But for some reason, He's noticing us. And He's saying, I'd like to use you. Would you allow me to take your life and turn it into a picture of triumph? You better allow a growl of God to enter your soul, to rise up and say, no more of this lethargy. No more of this ineptitude. I am not going to blame my weaknesses and my ignorances on the culture I grew up in, or on my parents, or on my educational background. I am the raw material of God, and He can do with me whatever He sees fit. And suddenly we have the formation of a hero. You don't have to be brilliant. Who cares about your IQ? Let God's IQ be your IQ. You have 66 books of His IQ. He's one smart guy, and He's given you all His smarts. Isn't that an incredible thought? All of them just laid bare for you. And then he'll even be the helper when you look at the scripture to help you understand it.
They say the vote is just a smokescreen of hope. You acting like we got control over who gets chosen. I think it's a joke. The president's on dope, sniffing coke. He's just a puppet of Patsy, taking orders from a cult to the mask. He was dancing with the devil, so we can't ever trust. You got us by the balls, power, blood, money, and lust. Just take control of yourself. You know that change is a must. The initials of the U.S. is us. Before you join the military, see what the war's about. We got a lot of dirt to clean in our house.
Committed treason. It's the reason we stand and we fight through the darkness and the light. The government lied.
Soldiers died in the fire of war. They got burnt. They had to learn the hard way. The freedom isn't free, so they paid the
Price with their life, and now you miss them. Some are still missing. This ain't the Christian coalition. I'm a child of the earth that study this knowledge without a need of a church. Of course, I thank the Lord, but no thank you for the war. All of what we fighting for.
Problem and poses the heroes placed there to solve them eventually. It will be a one-world democracy. It'll be placed with a two-faced hypocrisy. Another crime committed against the common good. And when it's said and done, we're still misunderstood. It's not a question of who's.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. Oh my.
We did? The South?
Like the one in 1965, or what Civil War?
Who won it? Who was even in it? Who was in it? Just tell me who was in it.
Ooh, I don't know. Why you let me do this?
Who won the Civil War?
Yeah. Oh my god. Hey, I'm trying to blank some of those things.
I feel like I'm on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. America? I don't know.
That's the Confederates, right? I have no clue.
The Union. The North. Yes. Okay. Okay, who did we gain our independence from?
It's the rich against the poor. Missiles flying overhead. Bodies coming home dead.
Ago, a secret dream was planned. Before Columbus came, they knew about this land. For the post-war plan of the manner to cross borders is first make chaos, then bring order. They claim to help and instead create the